Brilliant. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar with Jonathan Leafe. It's fantastic to see people joining us and still more coming in as we speak. So thanks for making the time. I know it's obviously early on a Wednesday morning. But yeah, so we're obviously very excited to have Jonathan Leafe join us today for this webinar to add a lot of value to digital agency owners. Just by way of introduction, my name's Stephen. I'm from Globatel. Long story short, we're a resource partner that we partner up with digital agencies, provide them with resource support, and eventually help them scale. But that's obviously not what we're talking about today. We're joined today by Jonathan Leafe, who's out in the UK. A bit upset that he can't play golf this weekend because of the weather, but he's getting over it. He's decided to join us and spend his time with us, which is great. Just to introduce you guys to Jonathan. Jonathan is obviously a digital business, a former digital business owner, as I understand, Jonathan, and now he works and supports digital agencies with advice and coaching and scale growth, all sorts of things that he does for them. So we've asked Jonathan to join us today to just spend some time with us and give us some of his advice and tips on, obviously the topic of the webinar is farming and not hunting, which I think is can get a bit lost in understanding what we're talking about, but hopefully you do get it. And obviously Jonathan will unpack it as we go. So John, thanks for coming through.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar. Yes, Stephen, thanks for inviting me on. This, I guess, is probably a little bit of a crusade of mine. I've always thought that agency owners have got one thing they love doing is they love sitting in a bath. They take the plug out and then they turn all the taps on, and they think that's what they should do.
Really,
and of course, that's nonsense. It's like opening the door to new clients, but you've got your back door wide open, and the existing clients in your business are just walking out. And this is absolutely something that agency owners can do something about. I guess probably it all starts because a lot of agency owners start their businesses small. They're a freelancer, they get joined by another freelancer, they get a couple of clients, and then they sort of grow organically. And I guess they're programmed to think that actually their business is getting clients, doing projects, and getting more clients and doing more projects, and so on and so forth. But actually, which is fine, by the way, and I don't actually have a problem with that. And there's loads of agencies that thrive and survive doing that. But it is a bit hand to mouth. And really, if you want to grow a agency of any size, I mean, when I finished my business, it was 2 million turnover and 40 strong. And I'd built that since 1989. So, and every year we'd grown, every year we'd made a profit. And really, we'd sort of taken out the variables of running a business. And really, this is what this seminar is all about, because I learned early on that actually, if you want to run a good agency, you've got to be a great farmer. It's not good enough just to be really good at hunting. Hunting's fun, I get that, but actually farming is where the action should be. And if you get it right, you can build an agency like I did, and certainly build a successful one. Be happy doing it, be confident doing it, be strategic doing it. It's just a much better way of existing.
Brilliant.
So I've sort of thought about this because it's a webinar, so I wanted to make it really easy for people to understand. So I've got 5 key takeaways here, if that's all right. And I wanted to just discuss each point. And Stephen, if you want to jump in any time to question those.
Yeah. I think, sorry, John, before you carry on, I just want to say this, guys. Firstly is, we do these webinars pretty regularly. We obviously do, we try to add as much value as possible. One of the things that we're pretty adamant about when we do these is we want it to be as practical as possible. We want the agencies who've taken the time, which is valuable time, and seen something that they like and gone, hey, I think I can learn something there. We want you to learn something. So we want it to be as practical as possible. We want you to take something away from what you see here today and go and implement it almost immediately in your business and actually come up with real practical steps you can take. That's the first thing. The second thing on that is, please, please, please don't be shy and ask questions. Shoot them through to the chat. I'm there, Haley's there, so we can obviously pick up the questions, and we can definitely make some time at the end with Jonathan to get your questions answered. Some people sent through some questions when we sent out the mail just to remind, so we've got a couple of questions that we can go through. But as you watch, please don't be shy. If we can obviously, if you want to talk the question or you want to shoot it through to the chat, we can do both, and we can keep it anonymous if you prefer as well. You don't have to be shy. Please, just let us know if there's anything you want to chat about. We also want to try and keep it as John said. I think he's done a fantastic job already of putting it into 5 key takeaways. And we'll leave a fair amount of room at the end to unpack those if you guys want to and ask some questions around them. So please don't be shy. That's me. That's all I wanted to say. John, on to you.
That's great. Okay, so yeah, just to recap for the ones who've just attended, this is my crusader. It's my mission. I think it's really easy to build a big digital agency, but you've got to take the right steps. And as I said before, a lot of digital agencies are generally small. They're freelancers. They're really good at what they do, and they get clients on the back of being really good at something. And they sort of they think to get new clients, what they've got to don their hunting gear and go out on the Serengeti to nail that new client. But actually, to be honest, you don't need to do that. And these are my 5 key takeaways. So number 1, it makes absolute economic sense to be a farmer, for the one simple reason that it's common thinking that to get a new client costs you 10 times as much as to retain an existing one. I mean, just think about that, guys. If you're out there and you're looking for clients, you've got to speak to 10 people to get 5 inquiries. In those 5 inquiries, you've got to do a deep dive into finding out what they want to do. That might turn into sort of like 2 or 3 quotes. And out of those 2 or 3 quotes, you might get 1 job, which is fine because that's the reality of the situation. But if you relied on running your business by getting new business all the time, you just simply would not be able to cope with that amount of stuff coming in. So in simple terms, economic sense, getting a new client costs you 10 times as much as keeping an existing one. So be a farmer, be a better farmer. Then my second key takeaway is choose those clients very, very, very carefully. Most agencies, when they start up, they have an open door policy. And I get that because I was exactly the same as that. Basically someone knocks on the door, you open the door and say, Mr. Client, we're delighted you're here. Sit down. What can we do for you? But actually, you shouldn't be doing that. What you should be doing is saying, is that client a good fit for me? What are they going to be a partner with my business? Do they see a long-term relationship? Are they value driven or are they cost driven? There's all sorts of different questions you ask. I mean, I've developed my own sort of like a 20-point checklist. And if a client scores anywhere between 15 and 20, I make sure that I win that client like my life depended on it. 10 to 15, I would certainly consider it depending on my situation. But anything less than 10 scoring on my checklist, I just say they're not for me, and you just walk away. And you have to be brave like that. But that was a long lesson learned. It took me years to understand that. Yeah. So that is a really good piece of advice on that. And one of the key things, of course, of selecting clients, and the main thing is, are they prepared to be farmed? Are they in it for the long term? Will they be here? Is it just a project and they go? Or are they going to be around for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years? You've really got to nail this. It's really, really important. And another thing when you're checking out a client, are they going to be an energy vampire? If they're going to be an energy vampire, are they going to suck the lifeblood out of your agency? Are they going to be demanding? Are they going to want your time? Are they going to be ringing you up at 9 o'clock on a Friday night demanding something, or Saturday, Sunday? Look, we all know clients like that. We've all had them, but we've got to try and dodge those bullets and let other agencies take them on. The smart agencies do not take those sort of clients on. They just don't. And quite often those sort of clients are characteristic. The characteristics are that they're often startups, because startups need a lot more hand-holding than any other existing business. So it's fine having a couple of startups in your agency, but don't have too many, because it's just exhausting looking after them. And they want more and more and more and more, but they can't pay for it. So you've just got to be really careful with those.
Gotcha. So, John, I'm assuming you prefer to go through the 5 key points.
No, just stop and ask the question, right, Steve. Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
already some questions coming through. So I mean, the obvious one about what you've said about choosing clients very carefully and whatnot. Is a client a good fit? And you said you've got this checklist. The main question is, can John share that checklist? Will he share that with us? Obviously, it may be proprietary to you, and I understand, and I'm sure the guys will understand if you don't want to share the full checklist, but maybe you can just unpack some general ideas of what's on your checklist so that you make sure that we know what to look for.
Yeah, your checklist is very, very personal to you, but I'll give you sort of like a highlight of what mine is.
Right.
Is literally the first thing that I would ask: how well do I know that person? Because if I know them well, then the chances are that they've selected me.
Right.
If I don't know them well, or it's a random inquiry, then the quality of that is going to be much lower. There's no question about it. And then there are variances within that. So I would give someone I know well, I would give 5. Someone was a random inquiry, I give 1 point. Simple as that. The other one, which is for me is a deal breaker, it's either on or off. This one is a client going to treat you like a partner in their business. I don't mean a partner in the true sense, but are they going to be part of the team? Are you on the same page, going for the same goals? Are they using you because they really value your expertise to make sure that they can achieve their goals? Or do they just see you as a supplier where they just want something, they'll be demanding, and then they'll leave? So that is very much binary for me. So 5 points for a partner relationship, 1 point for a supplier relationship. And so it goes on. Yeah. And then there are all sorts of other things. It's going to be fun to do. Is it going to be financially profitable? Do
you have the skills to do it, I suppose? Or
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I guess the thing about it is that if they wouldn't, you've got to walk away if you can't do the job. But to be honest, quite often my entrepreneurial spirit will come out and say, if someone's asked for something, I just say, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And then I go, oh Christ, how am I going to do that? Yeah. But you figure it out. That's how I grew my agency, by working out those things. And of course, a massive advantage that I had over the people who've got really deep skills in things is that I didn't have those. I had a very broad knowledge of a lot of things, but I could knit things together and build a team around that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you get an idea of my checklist there. Does that answer your question, Stephen?
Yeah, I think so, guys. Obviously, just shoot into the chat here if you want to know more about the checklist. While you're talking about choosing your clients quite carefully, I'm pretty sure that there's some people sitting here. I know we've got quite a wide mix of people who are coming through, all the way from really young startup agencies to quite advanced and quite mature agencies who are possibly at a scale situation where they're actually starting to make a lot of money. One of the things that I know that all agencies go through in the beginning, especially when they're starting out, is saying yes to everyone because they need the client, they want the client. So they just say, oh, yeah, sure, you need a website, cool, let me build the website, without actually, you said choose your clients very carefully. That implies that there's actually an opportunity to be picky. Now, I know, what would your take on that be? What would your advice to an agency there? I know this is an age-old question that every agency owners have.
Well, as a startup, if you're a startup agency, yes, you sort of take what you can, and I get that, and absolutely that's the right thing to do, because from that you'll actually learn from that which are best for you. So you're actually sort of like doing it. You're actually learning by doing. So I get that, and you've got to sort of do that, but you've got to be smart, and you've got to realise that you are learning, and you are learning the lessons of these sort of things. So. Sure. I think stage 1 businesses, which are sort of year 1, 2, 3, depending on how fast they've accelerated. Yeah, you take on what you can, but of course you do realize which are the better ones for you. And the thing about it is, if you've got an energy vampire in there, and all the agencies on this webinar will have one of those at least in their client list. Just imagine if they weren't there, that room that suddenly gets that gets emptied, that can be filled up by clients that do deserve to be there. So, it's really easy. It's really hard. You look at your financials and you say, crikey, if we've got that client, they're a pain in the ass to deal with, but it's 10% of our turnover. But hang on a minute, you get it's probably 50% of your stress. Yeah. So you get rid of that. And then suddenly you've got more time to deal with the good clients who really value you. So, it's tough decisions. I remember once I sacked a client who was 15% of my turnover, nearly 150,000, 200,000 pounds turnover. It was the very, very, very best thing I ever did, and never regretted it. It was hard, and everybody thought I was a bit mad, but actually, everybody within a month sort of said, thank God for that. You've absolutely done the right thing. Do you know what? That gap was filled by great clients.
Yeah.
So we advanced again. So sometimes you've got to be brave. Being in an agency is not just for this month or 6 months or this year. It's for, it's for the next. If you're going to build an agency, you've got to be looking beyond the horizon.
Gotcha. And I was going to say is those energy. I love the terminology you use about energy suck vampire. That's something that you put in the initial conversations we were having. They're so expensive as well. Like you said, they may have been 50% of your turnover, but the 50% of the stress, which is an expense, it's costing you. That stress is it may not be financial, but it's costing you the ability to focus on and grow.
I mean, another great example. I have a client that when I started with them, they had two very distinct energy vampires in the studio. And when the phone rang, you could see everybody was terrified it was this energy vampire client. And I said, look, eventually we've just got to sack them. So we managed them out of the business. And suddenly that space that we cleared out started getting filled in by clients who really wanted to work with this particular agency. We went from not making any money to making £200,000 in the year. It was, and that was all down to getting rid of these energy vampires who are just sucking the lifeblood out of the agency. And not only that, working on those sort of clients, they get demoralized. No one wants to work on them. Look, everybody knows these type of companies because there's plenty around there.
Yeah, and you said like when the phone rang, it's quite a practical thing. It's quite a good example because you said when the phone rang, everybody in the office is like, I'm just going out for a quick. But it goes to a question. We've got a question here about the best way to cut a vampire client once he's presented themselves as a prime 20 out of 20 opportunity. Like they started out great and then you went down the route. I mean, obviously we do make those decisions and clients change as well. I guess this is a kind of a question that's more about if we're talking about farming and hunting, this is more about a weeding situation. And how do you get rid of those guys who you farmed and you hunted and now you're farming and all of a sudden you realize actually got to get rid of what did you do and what is the best way that tactics you can survive?
Well, this is, I mean, you've identified it, Stephen, there. You just said it, because they might start off brilliant and then they change for whatever reason. But it's sort of like incumbent on the agency owner and certainly account managers to monitor the situation. So I used to sort of like make sure that I at least monitored the client's health, if you like, every month or 3 months, and just monitored it and see which way they're going. Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? So you've got an idea. I mean, to give another farming analogy, some of these clients, they start growing well, then the weeds start coming in onto the field and start clustering and stopping the growth of the good stuff. So the way that I would do it is it's quite simple. When it gets to that tipping point, you kill or cure.
Yeah.
So you either kill and just say get rid, but actually before you do that, you can always have an opportunity to cure a relationship.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to go back to the start of the relationship and ring the client, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, we need to have a chat. Yeah. These are the things from our perspective. This is how we feel. We want to know how you feel. And sometimes that repairs the relationship, because sometimes relationships, like in life, they just lose their way. It's no different. So you've just got to be aware of that. You can't let it carry on. That's the worst thing you can do. Yeah. When it starts carrying on, because it will only get worse. Yeah. You've got to stop and think and say, right, I need to do something about this. I'm going to try and repair it. I'm going to do my very, very best to repair it, see where we are, see if we can carry on. Or if not, we've just got to cut our losses, manage the client out of the business and replace them with better clients. As simple as that.
Yeah. And I suppose you say that very sensitively to the smaller agencies who value every single one of their clients. You need to balance that up and say, I really value this client, but I can't, my team's aching or I'm aching and I just can't do it anymore, which is just, as a digital agency business owner, you got to make those tough decisions sometimes. I guess.
You have, yeah. I mean, that's why the digital agency owners get paid the big bucks, because they've got to make these difficult calls.
Right.
And they've got to be all over it, because they will inevitably, if they've got too many energy vampire clients in their client roster, then the agency values are getting undermined. So how can you possibly turn around to your team and say, do this, and actually you're asking unreasonable things.
Yeah.
Look, in the short term, you might be able to manage it, but it stays there. I'm not going to use the word, it's not a cancerous growth, but you know what I'm saying? It's benign, it's a benign, it's sort of like a bad influence in the agency that you can't get rid of. And they're the ones, to be honest, they're the ones that will wake you up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do about it? But
I suppose that's one of the things on your checklist. what time do they phone me? How is the phone call?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so I mean, they're my first 2 points. I mean, just to recap, so it makes economic sense to work with what you've got.
Yeah.
And then inbound clients, then you've got to choose them really, really carefully because, you know, they've got to be the right fit for your agency. It pays massive dividends moving forward. There's no question about that.
Right. So quickly, just 2 more questions came through here. Actually 3. The services you offered in your agency, I'm assuming that the question's coming from a perspective of,
we were full service. So we did everything. Yeah.
Then also, this is quite an interesting one. What is the key indicator that a client will work with you as a partner or versus being a supplier? Are there indicators? Are there things that we can look out for?
Yeah, you learn to listen, you learn to observe, you talk a lot. Yeah. Before you agree to work with a client, you've got to decide what are the deal breakers. One of mine, for example, was I insisted that the client came to see me.
Right.
Because if they, I know, look, we're in different times now, but I insisted because we had cool offices and part of our, and also we had a real cool team and the work we did looked great. Everything sort of like really gelled. Our brand was really strong, but you had to really experience our brand. You had to get in amongst the team and see the offices. Right. So that was a deal breaker for me. If they wouldn't come, then I would turn them away. And also, I know pitching is a great thing. So if they absolutely desperately wanted us to pitch, I would ask who else is pitching. I would stop at 3. If they were seeking more pitches than 3, I wouldn't go for it. I'd just say no, turn them down. And also I would try and explain why it's a bad idea to have pitching a situation. And this is another topic altogether, Stephen. We could carry on about pitching for hours, but in simple terms, but my philosophy on pitching, because actually for the last 3 to 4 years of my business, we really didn't pitch. We only pitched the ones that we had 100% guarantee of winning.
Yeah.
And that was done by saying to clients, I said, look, if your pitching's fine, but what you will get from agencies, they will send their A team in to do the pitch to win the business. And once they win the business, they hand it over to the B team because the A team's busy on the next pitch. Yeah. So it's up to you, Mr. Client. What do you want? Do you want the A team always? Or do you want the A team to pitch to you and start the relationship and then you get into the B team? Yeah. So, you know, that was my philosophy. We only had A team. We were always, that's how we delivered stuff.
Gotcha. Cool. Saman and Emma, I see your questions there. What I'll do is we want to obviously get through the meat of the conversation. So let's let John go on, but I guarantee you that we will get to your question. Good questions, very good questions. So
yeah, the great questions. And we will definitely come back to those. So thanks, Saman and Emma for those. But my third key takeaway is that when you are delivering something, just make sure that you are absolutely doing the very, very, very best job you can. Sometimes that's managing expectations of a client, but you have to make sure that you are delivering over and above expectations. So it's under promising and over delivering. A tendency with particularly web agencies and heavy development agencies is just to say what the client wants to hear,
right?
And then just do something, right? And then everybody sort of like gets disappointed. I've got a great story about a plumber on that, but it's quite a long story. But basically, I'll give it in a nutshell. If your boiler breaks down, you want the plumber to give you the truth. We don't want the plumber to tell you what you think you want to hear. You just want to know where you stand. And clients are no different. Clients can take bad news. They're human beings. We can take bad news. We're quite capable of processing bad news. But quite often, digital agencies and particularly web development agencies are scared to give bad news, and they just hope it will go away and the client will be fine. They're not. It won't go away and the client won't be fine. So managing expectations and delivering on your promises, do what you say you are going to do always, and you simply cannot go wrong with that.
Yeah. Beautiful.
even if it's bad
Yeah.
news.
I think on that regard, I suppose going to with the farming element and theme of the conversation, that seems like a bit of a no-brainer. Of course, you should do your best, but I think what's key around that as well, and what you touched on there as well, is communication, and expectation. Under promising, over delivering. You can only do that if your communication is right with your clients, and if you're actually communicating. And like you say, it's bad news. The best way to give someone bad news is to make sure that you've got a good relationship with them. And the best way to build a relationship with somebody, I suppose, is to build that rhythm within, that rhythm of communication. So that
Well, it's honesty and trust. I mean, it comes back to this farming element, is that if you're an agency that is just project based, and you get the project on, you do it, it doesn't matter, you let the client down, whatever, but they get what they paid for, then you're on to the next one. But actually farming is all to do with curating that relationship. And look, you build that relationship and you build at brownie points. So you deliver, and then sometimes for whatever reason you can't deliver, or it fails, or something goes wrong, which it does, of course, always, let's expect it. Then you sort of like build up your brownie points, and you spend some of those brownie points. And quite honestly, I've always had, you ring up the client and say, look, we said it was going to be Friday, this is Wednesday, something's come up, we can't do it Friday, but it's going to be Wednesday, and you build yourself a bit of time into that. 90% of the time, if you've got that good relationship with the clients say, yeah, we understand, thanks for letting us know, keep us posted. Obviously some didn't work all the time, but as you said, Stephen, it's communication, good communication, and having that deep set relationship with your clients is absolutely paramount.
Cool. Okay, move on. I think this is a good question that I want to ask there, but let's move on and get through that, because I think
so number 4, if you really want to be a good farmer, and this is a classic farming technique, is you actually do a gap analysis on your clients. So the gap analysis is that, say you've got 10 clients, 15 clients, 20 clients, it doesn't really matter. And you put them down the left-hand side, and on the top, you write all of the things that you do as an agency, and then you start to tick off in the boxes what services are taken by those particular clients. And that will show you suddenly all of the gaps. So you might have client number 1 uses you for web design and social media, but they don't take video from you, or they don't take PPC, or they don't take SEO, or et cetera, et cetera. Why? So you've got to ask the question. And quite often the case is, quite simply, is because you've never asked them. It's as simple as that. So this is down to communication, having those conversations. And I guarantee, absolutely guarantee, because it's always worked, this has never failed, doing that, you will get 20 to 50% more turnover opportunities from just doing that piece of work. And that's my key takeaway, really. It's a task. Yes, it takes some time. Yes, you've got to speak to the clients again. Yes, you've got to approach them with these ideas, etc. But it works. And really, if you do that within 12 months, I absolutely guarantee you, say if you're turning over £500,000, potentially you will get another £250,000 from your own clients. You don't even need to find any other clients. They will be there to help. They'll want you because they trust you. They're already using you. They're comfortable with you, etc. So it's a simple thing to do. And not only that, when you're doing that, quite often agencies know more about their clients than the client does, because they see different things. They're on the outside. Clients can't see the wood for the trees, but the agency can. And just sometime you can spot something that the client hasn't spotted. Often what I used to do on that client list, I used to look at the ones at the top that are really they were growing, they were in growth businesses, they were good entrepreneurs, etc., etc. And I used to look at that and say, well, what problem can I solve for them that they haven't identified? And I used to ring them up, Mr. Client, I've got an idea for you. I've noticed something. Can I come and talk to you about it? They never said no. Imagine that. You're speaking to a client and they're already listening. So you go and say, look, I've got this really good idea. All right, it's going to cost this, but I think the benefit could be this. And then the client can do 2 things. They can say, Jonathan, that is just the best idea. Here's the business. Or they can say, well, I'm not entirely sure. but they're really grateful that you're thinking about them and you're batting on their side. So the next time you take an idea, they're going to be much, much more welcome for that idea.
Yeah. Interesting what you said there about you building that relationship and you getting them to like you, and to, I guess, in a way that to me that starts ringing true of what you said earlier about become a partner with them. Who's going to partner with you versus just treat you as a supplier? If you have a business partner or a life partner, whatever comes to you with an idea, you sit down and you listen, and you take it seriously. So I suppose it's about building that relationship to a point where you are a partner of them, so that when you do knock on their door and say, hey, mate, listen, I've seen the wood for the trees because I'm on the outside, and I've got an idea for you, and I think you should really take it seriously. They're going to actually listen to you, which is great.
Of course they are. Of course they are. You can't do that. You can't do that with a cold contact. It's impossible. You just cannot do it because you haven't built that rapport or that relationship. Yeah. So absolutely vitally important. So, I mean, just that bit of constant farming in that is really the key to it. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I was going to say the final key takeaway, and I'll run past these again quite quickly, and then we'll take on some questions if that's all right.
Yeah, cool. Barney, I see your question there as well. Yeah,
it's simple. It's the metrics.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, and these are sort of like benchmark metrics. I mean, everyone's slightly different, of course, but I think year on year you should be retaining or regular customers 75% minimum. Absolutely 75%. If you get higher than that, you're high performing. If you get lower than that, you need to do something about it. So year on year, 75% of your business should roll over. If you work on that 75% and increase the value of that 75% by 25 to 30%, that is your target.
Got you.
Then, just assuming that, say, 10% for whatever reason of your turnover disappears, because who knows why, but every business is going to have some sort of churn rate, and you have a 20% influx of new clients, which suddenly doesn't sound very much.
Yeah.
If you had to get 50% new clients every year, that's starting to get painful. If you have to get 75% clients every year, that sounds really painful and probably improbable.
Yeah.
So if you actually put all of those metrics together, so 75% regular customers or retained customers or long-term value customers coming back into the agency year to year, you grow that 25% to 50% by doing good farming on it, 20% new clients and 10% churn, you are guaranteed to grow your business between 30 and 40% every year. It's easy.
That's insane.
And it's true. I do it every time that I work with. Every time I work with clients, that's what we do. That's what we achieve. All right, we can't do it overnight, but if we start off in that without that mindset, that change mindset, to say, well, actually, no, we're not hunters anymore. We're farmers. And this is the actual key thing on that. The final thing, Stephen. I think we mentioned it in a previous conversation. If you achieve that, you don't even have to hunt, because people are knocking on your door. Because you become a magnet, you become a lead magnet, because people see how you operate. They see your values. They see that you're customer centric. They see you're charming. They see that you're just interested in working on clients' businesses. You're not interested in yourselves. You're more interested in your clients. Clearly, you're interested in yourselves, but that's a different story. But if you do a good job, the byproduct, of course, of doing a good job and doing all of the things that I've talked about this morning is building a really strong, sustainable business for the future.
Got you. When you lay it out like that, when you talked about those metrics and you say new clients coming in, a retention of your current 75% and that 10% that's churning out, it makes it sound very much similar to a sort of a funnel and a sales funnel sort of mentality, which I think a lot of digital agencies are used to, marketing funnels, sales funnels. The operator in me, obviously, that's what we do, is, as I said, resource partnering, is sitting there, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are thinking, what do I do about that growth? And what do I, what would your advice be about balancing that and making sure that you've got that under control, so that you don't land up letting down your 75% of loyal customers to service those new customers coming in, whether you're hunting or not? there's 20% coming in, whether they're coming in because they've been referred or because you've built a reputation for being a great digital agency. Obviously, it's a very large question, but what advice would you give to people to just make sure that they keep that operational piece going?
Well, you make sure that you are customer centric. You make sure that you are, you've got good account managers, really got your finger on the pulse of all of their clients. Your mission is to make sure that you are retaining your clients and actually another thing, let's go back to the key takeaway number one, economic sense. It costs you 10 times more to get those new customers in. But actually, if you're a good farmer, suddenly that drops to virtually nothing because they're walking through the door. And you just assimilate them. You have an onboarding process. You have an account management process, which is constantly feeding back to clients what's happening. You build those relationships, build strong relationships, and that becomes the inherent value of the whole agency. The whole agency believes that their mission is to retain and really look after their customers. Of course, you've got to still make a profit. That goes without saying, and that's another subject altogether. We can't solve. Rome wasn't built in a day. We can't solve all of your problems today, but these are. If you just adopt this philosophy, it's a philosophy. You adopt this mentality, philosophy, get it absolutely in the core values of your agency. You won't go far wrong with it. Well, you won't go wrong.
The mindset shift,
all the great agencies that operate like this are the ones that are still around. I grew my business every year on year, even through 3 recessions. Every year I grew it just because I inherently knew what I needed to do, and I built that into the values of all of the team, and that's the strength of it.
Gotcha. Cool. Barney, I see your questions, guys. Obviously, there's some questions coming through. I'll keep that till the end so we can cover that over there. John, quite a lot of work ahead of you. Let me just say, no, so
okay.
Good question, but there's some really good questions here, and I think it's quite telling what I'm seeing, and some of the questions that are already been asked about some of the pains that the agencies are feeling, and what they're actually dealing with. So sorry, go for it. Carry on.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, Stephen, I think if we do Q&As now, and then at the end, I can probably just go back through the 5 key takeaways so people can write them down or whatever. But I'm open for any Q&As now, Steve, if you want to.
So Barney, cool. So Emma and someone, I saw yours. Barney asked, how do you recommend you get rid of clients? I've been thinking about hiking the price up to get rid of one of mine, or at least profit better from them. Barney, that's straight up farming. Also, any advice for getting rid of smaller clients as you move towards higher value business?
Well, there's two questions in there, actually. I mean, he's like done a kill or cure classic thing, absolutely price them, get them, you're either going to stay with them, but they have to do it on the double the price, or you're not interested. That answers that question really quite simply. If they're an energy vampire and they're losing your money, so just double the price. And if they're still happy, then obviously you might choose to bite on your finger and carry on working with them, or it might be just not worth it. So, but that is the balance that you have to decide. And getting rid of smaller clients. Well, actually, smaller clients are a bad thing, but what you've got to do is you've got to manage them in the process. So the smaller clients have to sort of be managed in a different way. And this is a different technique that I use. I put all clients into league tables. And for ease of use, I use football terms. So we've got the football, we've got the Premier League, we've got the Championship.
You're such a palm,
yeah. We've got Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2. So smaller clients would go into League 2 and League 1, and they would be managed through a process. So they would be very systemized, productized, processed. So then so basically it's hands off from senior team. So that they're either dealt with the junior staff or they're dealt with on a process. As simple as that. But again, that is also a much bigger subject. And then, of course, the Premier League ones and the Championship ones are dealt with higher value staff, or staff which cost you more, etc. They're the ones that you would focus on developing, of course, as well. But there's no reason to think that you've got someone in League 1 or League 2 or even the Championship that can't accelerate into the Premier League. You've just got to be aware of it. So this is where the client farming and doing the client matrix comes in.
Got you. Barney says he loves the football approach. Some Rahman's clients need to be dealt with. I'm not sure who Rahman's is.
No, I don't understand. I don't understand the question. Yeah, but the
But
football question.
Barney's in the
Easy for
UK
me,
as
but
well.
you
And
have your own.
we had a good double shot with Barney, so I know him, and yeah, I think he's a soccer fan as well. A lower league sponsor. Oh, he says it's a lower league sponsor.
Okay.
Ryman League. Okay.
Ryan's League, got it. Yeah.
Okay, got you. Barney, you far surpassing our more than my understanding of the leagues. Yeah, cool. There was another question here. What are your views on having a niche versus not having a niche audience, especially when your niche has been affected by the pandemic?
This is a long conversation. I love niche businesses. If I could have had a niche business, I definitely would have. The only reason I didn't is because where I had my agent, where I founded my agency, we're quite a small population area. So if we'd been niche in the area, for example, then we'd have been tiny. So we had to sort of like be more broad than that. But if you have found a niche and you're extremely good at it, then generally niches mean you can get paid a lot more for doing what you do because your expertise in that particular niche is much higher. However, the downside of a niche, of course, has just been explained. If you'd niched into cruise ships, you'd be sunk, which is a great metaphor. If you're niched into hotels or the hospitality trade, they're suffering.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. So yeah, it's risky to be in a niche because you don't have that balance of clients, but at the same time you can charge more for your specialist expertise. For example, if I was a marketing agency to one accountant, that's fine. If I was a marketing agency to 2 accountants, that's a conflict of interest. But if I was a marketing agency to 3 or more, suddenly I'm a specialist in the area, and I've suddenly become a magnet for accountancy practices coming to me. Yeah. So it's weird, but those are my thoughts on it. I love niche businesses.
Yeah. And I suppose, and I suppose, especially after what we've just been, or are still going through as a planet, if you are a generalist digital agency or you are a niche digital agency, and all of your clients have been affected by the pandemic, you've got the agency and you've built it a niche already in one form. Why not, apply those skills to somewhere else and off you go and try and, go away from the
I mean, pivoting has been talked a lot about in the last 6 months. And I always sort of like, I put big warnings against pivoting. The majority of businesses which pivot or try to pivot, they're really pleased that they've done it, but I pretty much guarantee that most of them will be out of business within 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, hard to sustain.
Because you can't, because it sort of undermines your brand positioning, your value proposition, etc. It undermines all of those sort of things.
Interesting, yeah, and that's a very good point. Yeah. Another question here from Emma. Emma asks, give me a second, let me just find it. At the time of letting go of a big client, what are the new business tactics you use to attract clients that would be a good fit for you? So I suppose that's more on the you've maybe opened up that gap, that 15% client that you got rid of, that you said just completely left a gap in your business, but it was a gap that was happy to be filled. What were your tactics there?
Well, number one is again, you do more farming. You go back through your client base and you get some more work, more opportunities. You build those opportunities yourself because they're the easiest ones to convert. If you suddenly had 15% of your business go and you had to go and find a new client to fill that 15%, then it's going to take months, at best, to fill that. But actually with that 15%, you can go back and do some more farming and do extra farming. That's what I would do. And then in the meantime, from a sales funnel point of view, just keep having those conversations. I mean, at the end of the day, as I say, if you become a good farmer and you get the reputation for doing that, then you do become a lead magnet. You just do. I mean, I can't sort of explain it, but suddenly the word gets out that there's an agency that actually is just like really doing well with its client, and suddenly clients want a bit of it. It's true. Not new business, those are the ones that stand out. I mean, it takes time. This is not a panacea. It's not an overnighter. It's a mind shift from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't worry, guys, I got your back on this. Is I know that a lot, obviously, if you're sitting in a digital agency and you're worried about this, you're asking these questions, you're sitting there thinking, to me, it sounds, John, like what you're saying is it is a bit of a leap of faith. You have to take that, you have to do the work, of course, but you've proven that this farming is what works. And turning yourself inwards towards what you've already got on your doorstep works. I think agencies just need to put that work in and have the faith that it'll work out, because I mean, it makes sense, but you've got to just go for it.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that it's just, there's a lot of agencies out there as well that have maybe a business development manager or something like that. But quite often this is what I try and stop my clients from going down that route, because the business development manager has got one thing in mind, and they think about money. They think about invoices. They don't really understand fit, culture, things like that. Their priorities are not necessarily how long that client's going to be in the agency. They just want it in the agency. So they don't tend to think too hard about the type of client. In my experience, I'm sure that there are excellent business development managers out there as well. And to sort of like back that up as well is if the agency owner or went in to see a client and they had a meeting and just had a chat about general business, the agency owner will probably identify between 5 and 10, maybe even 15 opportunities with that client.
Wow.
An account manager who's maybe less skilled and doesn't have the experience will maybe identify 5. A business development manager generally identify 1. They just look at what the clients ask them to do, because a good account manager and a good agency owner doesn't do what the client asks them to do. They do what the client needs. And the two things, whilst they're subtly, they sound similar, they're subtly different. So I would say to my, it was a value throughout my agency, and say, look, don't do what the client asks you to do what the client needs you to do. And sometimes that involves conversations and discussions, but that's a partnership relationship. A supplier relationship is just doing what the client asks.
Got you.
So you've got to change your mentality as well. You can't operate like a supplier to be a really good farmer.
Got you. And I think it makes me think of a conversation that was going on in our Facebook community yesterday. About the question was raised about, does a salesperson need marketing experience, and does a marketing person need sales experience? And I guess in a way, if I'm hearing you right, is that's kind of what you're saying, is that account manager, that business agency owner has a much clearer understanding of marketing. So when they're having a conversation with the client, they're able to identify opportunities that maybe a salesperson who's just there for the sale may miss those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I noticed a question there from Gareth Tudor. That's great.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up.
Yeah, look, it is a sweeping statement, and I really apologise for any BDMs who are sort of like considering suing me at this moment in time. But in all honesty, this is my experience, because the agency owners understand the heartbeat of the agency. They understand what the agency can do. They understand that actually their business is completely and utterly tied to the success of their clients. Particularly the ones that are enlightened, the ones that are really good at farmers. And I just find that BDMs are just interested in the hunter kill, and sometimes they'll go out and find the client. They haven't done all of the due diligence that we've just gone through on the key takeaways, and they literally knock on the door of the agency. Look, I've won a new client, and basically they pull the pin out the grenade, open the door, throw it in, close the door, bugger off to try and find the next client.
Got you.
And how often does that happen?
Got you. So I see Emma's also, she's actually on the phone to her lawyer now.
Emma, please get in touch. I didn't mean
Gareth and Emma, look, we've still got to get through. I think is it one more point that you want to get through, Jonathan? You've done
No, that's my 5. That's my 5. The only thing that I wanted to run through really before how we're doing for time. I don't want to keep people.
No. We've still look. Guys, we didn't say we would definitely be done in an hour, but we recognize that everyone's busy, and it is 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the UK, where I think most of the attendees are. So we don't want to take advantage of your time. We're really grateful for it's quite a few of you in the crew, which is fantastic. I'm blown away at how many people actually showed up. Most of the time you don't get a ratio of 30-40%, so it's really great. But Emma and Gareth, I'd love to, please, if you guys want to talk about that topic about the salesman, we can unpack that a little bit now if you want.
Well, there's another question there from Occult
Yeah,
Pretorius.
go for it.
The niche over wider geographic area. Yeah, for sure, remote clients. I mean, what I meant from my perspective and niching why I couldn't do it is because, bearing in mind, I started my business in 1989. We just did not have the opportunities that there are now. We didn't even have, we had like dial-up, well, in fact, we didn't even have bloody dial-up.
Yeah.
A quick story. I mean, I think 1991 was when I first got my first email address. And when I got it, I actually didn't know anybody who had an email address.
Just send an email to
Literally. So I went on to CompuServe and they printed out all of the names that people subscribed. And I found a name I recognized. I didn't know if it was them. And I sent them my first email. And a week later, because you only checked your email once a week in those days, an email came back. Yes, it's me. And that was the end of the conversation. But that was my first email. Yeah. So, I sort of like invented myself and the digital agency. I mean, we were doing things digitally. We were working on Apple Macs in 1989. We weren't doing anything conventional. Previous to that, I did work for a conventional agency, with artwork by hand and all that sort of stuff. So I do understand all of those. So I've grown up through this.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously why you've got such a wealth of knowledge, is because you've been through the trenches and you've been all the way back, and you've literally lived the experience of without calling you old. I'm definitely not calling you old. You've definitely been.
I'm a lot older than I look.
23 now. But look, I think I'd love to pick up that question around the BDMs and Emma and Gareth. Maybe we can actually get your voices heard as well. But I think, John, maybe you want to just recap anything that you want.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and guys, if you do have questions, now would be the time. And thank you for all the questions so far. And hopefully, John's answered them as best you can. If I did miss any, please just shoot them through again. But yeah, shoot through questions, and John can quickly. I see Gareth getting eager there, but John, go for it. Do a quick sum up of what we've been.
Yeah. So my philosophy, just to recap, is I call it a crusade if you like. It's all to do with farming, and this is absolutely aimed at service industries, particularly digital agencies, because I recap that digital agencies are often formed by a freelancer joining another freelancer. So they're not necessarily, entrepreneurs, really entrepreneurs. Of course, they're entrepreneurs, but they're not necessarily really entrepreneur around that. They just want to do their work and do a good job. So I try and educate. I try and breathe a bit of entrepreneurial spirit into the agencies that I work with and try and bring them up on their business now. And these are the 5 key takeaways from today's presentation. Is farming makes complete economic sense. It costs you 10 times more to get new clients on board than to keep an existing one. However, most agencies sit in a bath, they take the plug out and they turn the taps on full, and they think that's how they should operate. You don't have to do that. Choose your clients very carefully. Do not let anyone through the front door, or the back door for that matter. Just because they want something doesn't mean you should do it for them. You need to be very, very clear on what clients you want for your agency. They've got to be the right fit. Very important. Always deliver above expectations. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't let clients down. I know you will do. We all do. It happens. Things go wrong. But the more you do a better job, you build up your brownie points, and you can spend a few. And as I say, if you've got to deliver bad news to clients for whatever reason, non-delivery or anything like that, then give them the bad news, because clients can take it. Don't tell them what you think they want to hear. A quick matrix on a farming technique is identify opportunities within your client base. So the clients down the left-hand side, broken into league tables, if you like. Across the top, do all of the services that you do, and do a gap analysis. Who uses all of your services? Who uses 1 or 2 or 3? But you've got 5. Why? You need to sort of like identify why clients aren't taking all of your services. And then 5 key metrics. How are you going to measure all of this? Well, I say you can get 75% of recurring revenue rolling over to the next year, and you focus on building that client base up by 25%. Sorry, the revenue of that client base by 25 to 50% every year, which is absolutely doable, by the way. And then you only need 20% new clients coming in through the front door, with 10% leaving for whatever reason. You've got an agency which is growing anywhere between 30 and 40% a year. And it's much more manageable to do it that way as well. So that is my sermon completed, Stephen. I hope that was good for you and the cohort, the webinar attendees. So that's all to say. So if there are any remaining questions, then I'll happily field them now, and if not, we'll let everybody get on with their day.
Yeah, awesome. So quickly, there have been one or two come through. Just to a few thank yous, John, and I mean, we'll obviously thank you very kindly for what you've done. You've really been very helpful. There was one here from, in his defense, let's just let Gareth have his defense here and say it. He says, I do in fairness completely agree with the BDM grenade analogy. In a big agency, I used to do this, but now with a boutique agency, I noticed the problem straight away, and now believe fully in the farming long-term philosophy. Also trying to make life easier for our team. Hence the question about how to set boundaries for paid social media, paid social managers, suffering with clients asking for things during the night, etc. So I'm not sure if maybe you missed that question. Look, I think Gareth, in John's defense, and I think I subscribe to what he's saying as well. I've had quite a fair amount of experience in dealing with salespeople and BDMs, and it's good to hear, Gareth, that you recognize that grenade analogy, because it can be very frustrating. And I think we're not on a sales seminar here. We're not learning about sales, but sales has changed immensely over the years, and we no longer that whole idea of going out and exactly hunting, cold calling, getting out there has very much been rethinked by a lot of industries all over the world. So. But yeah, John, just on that, I mean, I think I recognize that there's a change from Gareth's gone from a big agency to a smaller one, and he's recognizing that sort of farming mentality. But I do agree that the sales thing it's a challenge. It's a big challenge.
Yeah, I think there was just one question that I spotted. Oh yeah, so this is from Sage Beckingham.
Oh, yes, Sage.
Farming is better than hunting, yeah. But if you're starting out or do need to bring new clients, what is the best strategy and methods of finding with new clients? I mean, to answer that question, Sage, there are so many different ways of doing it. And it's a topic in itself. And I guess to answer that just in simple terms, you've just got to work at it. You've got to network the hell out of everything. You've just got to be making a lot of connections. You know, for every 10 people that you speak to, you might get 5 opportunities, which turn into 2 quotes, and you'll get 1 piece of work. So that's yourself. But as I say, really farming is aimed, to be honest, at stage 1.5 to 2 businesses rather than startups, because startups have to pedal very hard under the water for sure. Yeah, I was in exactly the same place.
Gotcha.
When I started out.
Gotcha. I think we did. I have a question if there's still time. Sorry, Tom Scott, how do you incentivize your sales team to value farming as much as hunting? Is it still a financial incentive? Great. No. No problem. Yeah, that's an interesting one as well.
No, absolutely not. The minute you start incentivizing anybody with money, you get the wrong answer. So you've got to do it other ways. Brilliant. Because you don't want, it's because how do you do that? So because you want the value of the client is not the first invoice. It's the first year, it's the second year, it's the 5 years that you have that client. That's the value to the agency. Okay. So, and again, BDMs, salespeople, they don't really think much beyond a week or 2 weeks. I'm being very generalist again. So I'm sure that Emma is going to see so to me. It's the topic from a different technique.
Gotcha. Brilliant. Yeah. Listen, John, I think that's fantastic, and I think based on the comments coming through and the thank yous we're getting, I think this has been incredibly insightful, guys. We'll leave it there. If there are no other questions, please do get in touch. Haley will be in touch with you guys anyway. If you do want to get in touch with John, obviously he's available. And I know Emma said she had to duck off and she'd love to carry on the conversation, John. So there's a good opportunity there, I think. And there's just, generally, guys, if you have some insight or questions you want to ask John, please go ahead and we'll make him available to chat to, give you his details. And John, thank you very much for coming through. It's been really, really great. Man, it's much, much more valuable than I could have honestly had hoped for. And I hope the attendees agree. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I like to continue my crusade to make agencies better.
Your crusade. Love it. So guys, thank you for coming. Please do, while you're here, I know a lot of people have already left, but please, while you're here, if you wouldn't mind, please go join us on Facebook in our Digital Marketing Co-work Collective. You can just look for the Digital Marketing Co-work Collective. We actually do conversations, not as long as this. We do quick 10, 15-minute conversations like this twice a week with agency owners, with agency coaches, all sorts of people that add value to digital agencies. So please do join the Digital Marketing Co-work Collective. And we're going to be doing another webinar, another big webinar, not nice long one like this, in about, Hayley says only early next year, but I'm going to try and twist her rubber arm to do it sometime in this year, where we're actually going to be opening the floor before the webinar for agencies to send through campaigns that they're currently working on for our agency supporter, whoever it is, to actually critique the campaigns live in the webinar. So if that's something that you might be interested in, please keep an eye out. We'll obviously communicate that with you now that we've got your details, and we know you're interested in webinars. We'll definitely let you know about the future ones we do. But yeah, if you did miss the rest of the recording, it'll be on our YouTube channel. Jump into the DMCC, please. And yeah, we'll chat again soon. John, thanks so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Beautiful.